because of this. My lecture is now the application of DPF in a more practical sphere, but there will be quite a lot of repetitions because the most important points have already been spoken of, specifically because of Martin's presentation, but also some other aspects have been also mentioned by other presenters today before me. Then my presentation will continue the following line: panorama, overview of the applications, focusing on new machines, then machines are in use, and then talking about strategies to promote the supervision, and then a summary of all these. The motivation, we have talked about this a lot, so I just want to show you this one maybe. I can't control it. Oh, this one. That's suit coming from an Euro 3 passenger vehicle after 80,000 kilometers. Without DPF, it reduces to this amount, or even less than this. It's just 97% is here, and then it's something that we can prevent from happening. And then I want to go into the other ones, except here that in Chile we have seen in Nancy's inventory of the environment, Ministry of the Environment, sorry, that emissions of off-road machines are also an important range and require attention. It has been said that if the BAT best available technology to prevent emissions from diesel vehicles. And also, Martin has shown clearly that there are quite experiences in this area of construction machineries in Switzerland. In this slide, there are some landscapes repeating, because we started in tunnels, then we went to big works, major works, in the history of the evolution of these applications. And the last front we are tackling now is winter tourism, points where there's not much exposure to contaminants, but the black snow does not attract tourism. So that's something that we still have to work with the federal office, and they are really active on this. In this chart, it summarizes very briefly how we went from through different phases. One is the pioneer phase, and then pilot phase, where we had different tests, etc. And then we went to the phase where the applications or the requirements were only are required through public bidding, especially for major works. And then we went to guidelines, to elaborate guidelines and recommendations only. And then the most decisive step goes in the last moment with the introduction of the ordinance, making all this mandatory, where we get to almost 100% conformity and compliance with these machines that are subject to the ordinances. So this is something that has been explained before. The new new machinery equipped X-Factory, sorry, with DPF. We put it in bold because this is the current area where we are working. These are the new machineries retrofitted, and in Switzerland this has become through a transition that we imported the machines, and then the importer itself, he did the retrofitting for Switzerland, but that was imported at the transitional phase, and the retrofitting with DPF of the machinery in use. This one, this is a very easy to implementing. This one is feasible to do, is proven, but the diversity of machinery and the challenges are quite big. And the new machines equipped X factory. Martin Cheese has shown us clearly this front we have to tackle. They are OEM, and they are responding to the demand in Switzerland for the ordinances, the FON engine list. So many manufacturers started to directly supply solutions, OEM solutions, and that has increased, and we see again 92 engine families, 829 engine types, and that's from 17 manufacturers, and all those manufacturers are renowned brands. I know they're renowned here mostly as well, very active here as well in Chile. The important thing is that they are responding to a Swiss demand, but each customer in the world can also acquire machinery of this type to comply with the demands of these different requirements. A summary of new machinery equipped X factory. These are solutions which are sound from the technical point of view, and from the point of view of contracts are very sound as well, because it's just purchasing, and it's one vendor that gives them the guarantees, the warranties. They don't have to negotiate with two sellers, one of the vehicle and the other of the filters or retrofitting, and in this sense it's very sound and it's very simple to do. Also, the optimum use of the cost benefit of the investment is the best, because the filter, as you see, they have the highest useful life possible, and the implementation is relatively easy. Then your interest has been, at least we have seen so far, is retrofitting, and retrofitting is what we are going to see now. Conditioning the machines, and the machines that are already used. We see here some of the challenges we have is that we have an enormous diversity of machines. In the case of buses, you have like in a company you have 5 or 6 types of buses, engines, etc., and sometimes 50, 100, etc. So you can somehow solve this in a relatively standardized way. But in this case, each vehicle can have its own particularities and different operations, and it's a challenge. Also, we have vibration in different kind of machinery. For building machinery especially, a major problem regarding the problems that buses and trucks face. The second challenge is that there are a diversity of operating profiles. We have 3 graphs to show us: a leveler, wheel loaders or a bulldozer, a mobile crane, and then an excavator. and different power modes. And here we see the engine speed, on this side engine load, and then where is this vehicle moving. So each of these images are very different, and the important thing is this regarding the profile of temperature. And the temperature is important in the sense that if it is within a specific range to allow for regeneration of the filter or not. So that's the critical point, and where we have to find then applications that are specific to each of these profiles. The answer, however, that there is a wide range of solutions for DPFs. I won't get into details, but basically we have two big groups: passive DPFs and active DPFs. And passive DPFs, these are automatically regenerates, and in the active once it's done through a burner or through a heating device, or even through the last example here, internet induced, you can generate the regeneration. Regarding the machinery, building machinery, usually this type of system are more convenient and more secure. Then in retrofitting we have matching, which is a very important issue. First of all, we want to use officially certified filters, but also we have to consider the diversity of machines, diversity of profiles, and eventually the properties of the diesel fuel. Although in Santiago you're in the best situation, but in other places eventually we have to consider that limiting because the properties of the fuel itself. There are also local practices that may be maintenance, driving styles that can vary from place to place, and the different technologies. And so the matching is a very important thing that big companies which are active currently have all the experience, professional experience, but what it matters is to have companies with experience and not to trust this to any supplier, any vendor that are eventually maybe not certified. And the authorities need to see that the matching is done professionally through the conformity control based on requirements. It's something that is very important. In the selection of filters, monitoring is data logging is a very important tool, just as you have seen in the experience with the buses. So in this phase, monitoring of the temperatures of the different profiles indicates basically what systems can be selected. And data logging is very important as well, because once it's installed in the system, at the very same moment, what is important for those who are interested in the back pressure, if there is any signal on malfunctioning or optimal functioning, of DPF. And these systems also trigger automatic alerts. These are important elements to prevent damages and in the case that damages is also something that is also important in terms of the responsibility or liability regarding damages. But in terms of the machines in use, the experience in Switzerland is wide. There are other experiences in a number of minor machines in low emission areas, zones in European countries and in the US. The diversity of applications implies to choose individual solutions, specific solutions, which is different in the case of bus fleets. In terms of maintenance, we have heard this in the morning, and in this case, as in the case of buses, is a prior condition for retrofit. Retrofit should be applied only by officially certified organizations or organisms which are certified by our authority, and the matching must be done professionally, and the authorities can help this by doing a control of all those actions. The implementation of retrofit programs for building machinery, in this case we recommend this implementation to be gradual, so that little by little we learn through the different challenges. Generally we can say that yes, retrofit is a technical, an option, technical, economically and operatively speaking, is feasible and is completely recommendable to do it. Possible promotion strategies for DPF for off-road machines are regulations or economic instruments for new machineries. We would say higher than 18 kilowatts to make priorities regarding the most important machines. The second strategy would be to adopt the FON engine list for machinery, for new machinery. That is the simplest thing, as we have said, and as I think Mark Schiess has shown us in his presentation. Also, you can have specific demands for low emission zones, or as we could say, a low emission zones with also the building of tunnels. If you have a project for building tunnels, it can also work for these purposes, having specific requirements for this, where workers need to be protected from exposure to those emissions. Economic instruments for retrofit DPF of machines in use, or the voluntary application of these techniques in public companies, giving a good example. And finally, the DPF requirement in major works tenders, public tenders. We go to supervision and control. Supervision of machinery, building machinery, has certain challenges to be faced. First of all, most of countries do not have an official record on off-road machines. Even in Switzerland, there was no record, except that of those machines using public routes, public roads. For practical reasons, the control of machineries cannot be done in a technical review plan, but the supervisor, the controller, needs to go on the site and look for the machines. So you go on the site. So it's a matter of what instruments you can carry with you, because a technical plant can have all the infrastructure, but on the field you don't have everything. In Switzerland, each off-road machinery has to have an individual number, a tag indicating the last maintenance action, and if it's over 18 kilowatts, it must have an emission control document on board. Here, there are some steps in the inspections. First is visual checks. As most machines, Martin sheets is shown in all of them as mandatory, so we need to see whether there is a DPF filter installed. But sometimes DPFs look very similar to the silencers or acoustic modules. So first of all, you have to verify whether this is a DPF or only an acoustic module. For example, here to the right side is an acoustic module. Second, on visual control, here is a clear image and a clear demonstration that you can be at ease of mind. These completely clean emissions, so undoubtedly is a filter in good condition, while when we get to the site, if there is black smoke, there's probably an indicator of something failing, or that the DPF is absent or is malfunctioning DPF. Then the control, and if all this is in conformity, the control with the documents, and also conformity of the different model plates in the machines and in the particles filter. Then we have talked about this in the morning and in the afternoon, the measuring, conventional measuring and official measuring with opacimeter, and then the optional measuring with counting of particulate numbers with a limit value of, which is a reference value, which is 250,000 particles per cubic centimeter. It's for the test phase to have a feedback of the different cantons on the levels. And Martin can respond to this if you have any questions about this. The authority will make decisions on this space later on. Which instruments do we have available? We are very happy that we have one which is certified by METAS Switzerland is available to be purchased, and we have seen this PEPA. We have seen in a presentation that works with batteries, and in this sense it eases the operation even more, but it's still in the phase of certification by METAS, still not available in the market. And there is another instrument by a university of Technical University, Applied Science University, Partectors from Nanios, a smaller instrument, more like the style we have seen today, but the certification is by METAS Switzerland is still not initiated and is not available still in the market. So I have to say that unfortunately or luckily, fortunately there is one, unfortunately we still don't have more when we will have another instruments available that can compete with this one. In case of non-conformity, if you haven't installed the filter in a machine where it was mandatory, this is an example of the Zurich canton. Prohibition to operate starting from the next operational date, and later control in 3 days, and if it's not solved, it's a threatened, and there is an administrative sanction and a judicial sanction. The good thing I can tell you is that from the Zurich canton, this information is more than 1 year old now, and at the moment they said up to that date they had never had any need to do this. To summarize, off-road machinery, it's an important source of particles emissions, and in order to reduce these emissions, DPFs are the best available technology. Switzerland particularly has proven the feasibility of the application of such DPF for construction machinery, new machineries, and retrofit machineries with OEM solutions. The implementation level is very high. In order to acquire new machinery, the FON engine list is recommended to list for the list of engines equipped ex-factory with DPF. And if the retrofit with DPF of a machinery is actually feasible on the technical, economical, and operational point of view, it is highly recommended. And in order to supervise and inspect on the field, we need to consider also the PNC document as an option. Chile, with the buses, has acquired a whole lot of experience through the institutions involved and competent institutions at the level of companies, and then because of this experience they have a very good base for a very good foundation to have a successful development of these new challenges with off-road machinery as well. And then thank you very much.